Welcome back everyone, my name is Kylie and I am the Curly Crafter. Today's video is going to be super exciting and also a great one for all of you fake bakers because today I'm going to do a full life-size fake key lime pie tutorial. So if you are ready to start preparing for summer and get in the summer vibes by doing a fake bake key lime pie, then this is the perfect video for you, so let's start fake baking. Yes, I know when some people do their fake bakes and do like pumpkin pies or any type of pie, they use foil around for their crust. So they use like a tin foil pan, but I like to make mine look as kind of like most realistic as I can. So I like to use glass, which isn't the most cheapest option if you can't find them on sale. Like for example, this is one I have from Walmart, which is actually pretty pricey. But I recently went to a thrift store and found a bunch of other glass pans. For example, this one is only $2, which is easily compared to the one from Walmart. I mean, they are pretty much identical. So if you can find them on sale, it's definitely a nice option. And then these are the other two I found. I found this one for $3 and it has this really nice like pattern on the edging, if you can see it, which is really adorable. So I'm gonna save this one, maybe do like a future different pie. And then this one for $3 is the one that I'm gonna use today. It kind of has like a ruffle on the outside, so it kind of looks like pie crust, but in glass. So these are all the pans or fake glass pans that I have. I will be using this one, and once you have your pan, you can use foil or glass as I said, and now let's start fake baking. And now I have 3 more glass pans for future videos, so stay tuned. Now before I actually use this pan, again, it came from someone else's home and was in a thrift shop. So I'm gonna take it over to the sink and give it a nice clean down. And then what I like to do is actually paint the inside rim the color of crust, because once you like paint the inside of the glass, nothing can scuff it up once it's finished. And then it'll look like pie crust is inside of the glass pan. So let's clean it up and get to painting. And now that the pan is squeaky clean, I'm just going to dry it with some paper towels. Images of cooked pie crust. I don't have a specific paint color that I like to do for pie crust, so I just go on to Google and I search images of pie crust so that I have something as an example or kind of like a guideline to see what colors I want to use. So I'll just use a bunch of my apple barrel paint and mix them together and keep, tweaking my mixtures of paints until I get a color I like for the pie crust. So I'm going to go into my paint and start mixing up some random colors to create my pie crust shade. This time around, these are the paints I used: Classic Caramel, Antique White, Sun-Kissed Peach, and King's Gold, as well as some orange. Also, when mixing your paint, make sure you make enough to do several coats on the inside of your pie crust, and also try to make enough so that you can save some to mix in with some spackling, which we will do in another step later. So just make a lot of your mixture. Graham cracker crust. So I may have forgotten that I'm doing a key lime pie and not a regular pie, so I'm going to have to tweak my colors and do a graham cracker crust color, not a pie crust color, so don't make that mistake. Now let's fix up our paint color. And to fix my color, I went in with some chestnut and chocolate bar paint. So I am happy with my color. Now I'm just going to take my pie pan and paint all along the inside of the pan. This is going to take several coats, so it may look opaque in the beginning, and just trust the process. A little tip is that it's harder to paint on glass, so make sure you don't go over what you already painted until it's dry, or else the coat that you already put down may try to peel. So as you can see, we just finished our first coat on the pie crust. It still is very opaque and it needs about like 3 more coats. But while our first coat dries, we are going to start working on the next step, which is our lime wedges for the top of the key lime pie. So in a previous video, I did a video on making homemade silicone molds that you can use for resin. I will leave the link in the iCards and also as well as down in the description if you'd like to watch that tutorial to make the exact mold that I'm going to use. But basically in that video, I made a fake lime wedge mold and I'm going to use that today with some resin to create our lime wedges. So let's get started with that. And also remember, as you work on other items for the key lime pie, make sure you keep going and adding more coats onto your pie crust. So when all the other items are ready to be used, the pie crust will be finally finished. So I don't know how this is gonna turn out because we barely have any left of, which is kind of scary. You can see a little bit down there. This is not gonna make a lot of resin, but we're gonna try it out and hopefully it makes us enough lime wedges to do the key lime pie. If not, I'll have to order some resin to get here tomorrow to finish it. So let's try out making our resins. Because limes are green and not clear like the resin, you are going to have to color it or dye it somehow, so I'm using this resin kit from Amazon, which I will link in the description. And then you are also going to need a measuring cup or some type of bottle with measurements so you can measure out a 1-to-1 ratio. What I decided to do, because I barely had any left, is pour all of my part A, or at least as much as I could, into the bottle, which got me roughly 70 milliliters. And again, because this is a 1-to-1 ratio, I added another 70 milliliters of part B. And then at this time, once you have all of your part A and part B in the bottle, you are going to need like a dowel or a popsicle stick to stir it all together. And then you also add in your resin pigment and stir it for about 2 to 3 minutes until all of it is well incorporated. Also make sure while stirring that you try not to get any air bubbles, just because it'll create a smoother resin piece. And again, as always, I kept tweaking it and using the phone for reference, so to make sure I get a more accurate color of a lime. And then once your resin is to your preferable color and mixed well, you can just use it and drizzle it or pour it into your silicone mold. And then after it's in your silicone mold, I let mine dry or set for 24 hours, and the next day I was able to work on them. Another tip I have for you is once everything is poured, to just take a popsicle stick and make sure you completely smooth over the top of the silicone mold, almost completely, that you are scraping every last bit of resin off the top, because I find it harder once the resin dries to peel off any extra pieces that you don't want, because harden stiffens so much and it just makes it a lot easier. So now I'm just going to use this scrap piece of styrofoam that I found in the trash, so it's completely free, and this I'm going to use just to kind of like fill the bottom of my pie crust. So I place a pan on and trace the bottom rim. Now I'm just going to use a knife and cut that out, and once it is all cut out and fits into the pie thing, you might notice that since the sides are curved, you might have to take the styrofoam and kind of use the knife to create like an angle on the side like I'm showing you here, just so that it'll fit nice and snug down into your pie crust. And then once that is all ready, you can glue it into your pie pan using some simple E6000 and hot glue. And just like that, your crust is ready for the next step, which is making the key lime pie filling. I will be using some DAP lightweight spackling that I get at Home Depot. And you don't really need a whole bunch for this. I'm just going to take some lightweight spackle, and also again an image for reference. As you can see, key lime pies also have like more of a yellowy tone, like slight green shade, so just find the shade of key lime pie that you want to reference, and then you can create that. I'm using these 2 shades of paint to create my color, and again I decided to go with more of a yellowy. Actually, mine was pretty green too, because sometimes people dye it. But anyways, you get the color that you want, and you can use your popsicle stick and on the styrofoam that is inside the crust. I'm just going to use the popsicle stick to evenly spread it over the whole surface of the piece of styrofoam, so this will act as the actual pie filling, and no one will know that there was ever styrofoam underneath. So this is the perfect option for me, and I just went with the popsicle stick once it was all smooth over and just kind of removed any like creases and made it like extra smooth. I've heard a lot of people say that this is an expensive way to make the pie, but in my opinion, it is the most realistic, and if you can find cheap materials like free styrofoam or even a bunch of pans on sale, it is the perfect option. And also, don't sweat it if you get some spackling on the glass, because that is easy to wipe right up. Hey, do you remember when I told you to make extra crust paint? Oh yeah, well that's because now we are going to go through and use it to finish our amazing, super realistic key lime pie crust. I only have a little bit of spackling left in my container, so I'm going to pour the rest of my paint straight on in here and mix it up to create a super realistic and identical color to the crust that we have painted. And now we will also use the Wilton 1A piping tip and a piping bag, because we will be using this to pipe on a type of braided crust onto our pie and also fill any of the unnecessary gaps. So once you have all of your spackle ready, I'm just going to use my piping tip and pipe and fill all of the gaps all the way around the pie, kind of to where the spackling is flush and level with the top. And now we are going to create a design covering that super simple type of pipe all the way around. I decided to do a braided crust, which is where they are intentionally opposite diagonal lines that each start where the other one ends, and then you will create this super realistic and super cool braided crust. Now that the complete base of our pie is done, I'm going to let this dry for 24 to 48 hours, and then we will continue on with the next step. So now that it is a little while later, I am popping out my lime wedges out of my silicone mold. Again, this is the next day. And then once they are all out, this is kind of what they look like, and they still don't have any rinds on them. So in that case, we are going to paint on our lime rinds using these shades, Spring Green and Christmas Green from Apple Barrel, as well as that super light, beautiful pale green from Folk Art. I also added a little bit of yellow because some limes have more of that yellow tint in their rind, but needless to say, I'm just going to mix that all together and start painting on my lime rinds. Since we are painting on resin in similarity to glass, it is quite a difficult material to work with, so you are going to need several coats. I like mine a little bit opaque, so I only went with 2 coats, and then my limes were finished. So I'm going to do the same mixture that I've been doing with just simple lightweight spackle, but this time I used some antique white paint just to create a simple fake whipped cream that I'm going to use to add all the lime wedges on. Sorry for the blurry video, by the way, but all I really did is space out 5 of the lime wedges and do dollops of fake whipped cream and then place the lime wedges on top, as you can kind of see. And then once that is finished, again, let your pie dry for 24 to 48 hours, and then voila, your pie is finished and super exciting for the summer key lime type of festive vibes. I did do this to my crust, but I didn't show it on camera, so it is another tip. If you take some darker brown and use some floater just to go around all the edges of the braided crust, it will make it look more baked and realistic. So again, that's another tip, and it just elevates your pie so much. Well, that is it, and once you let your pie dry for 24 to 48 hours, then you can use it to decorate with. I absolutely love it, and it is super festive, perfect for going into the summer season, and I love it so much. If you guys love it too and you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. Also, I wanted to mention, if you'd rather not make it yourself and purchase it, I will have my key lime pie listed on my Etsy shop at The Curly Crafters Cakes. I will also leave a link in the description for easy access, and I hope that you guys like this video. So without further ado, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone!